What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to my friend. She is a inaugural WWE Mae Young competitor. She has competed in MLW, and she's sequestered somewhere in the depths of parts unknown, or even Taiwan, which is pretty awesome. But she's the one and only Zeda Zhang. Zeta, how are you?
I'm great. I just woke up and I know it's like 3 o'clock over here, but my sleep schedule's all over the place. But yeah, things are good. How's it going over there?
It is a proverbial ghost town where I am. I think I went and did laundry or did an errand out today, and I drove into Pasadena, and like there's like five people in Pasadena just like walking about, and it just seemed almost apocalyptic. So strange times indeed.
That's weird. I love
Yeah.
Pasadena. Huh.
Yeah, so weirdness, it's all goofy, but you know, in that time, I've just kind of like, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. Let me see how my friends are doing. And in the last month and a half, possibly 2 months, I think I've done 70 podcasts
Oh
in the
my God.
last, yeah, it's become my
So
obsession.
basically, during the apocalypse, because that's what's going on right now there, um, you're gonna sit there with a mic when a zombie pops in. So, are you prepared at all?
Like
What's
prepared
your
for,
weapon of choice?
I've,
Don't tell me a freaking boom mic.
let's see, I've got this. I've got one mic here. I think I've got a kettlebell or something. I think I'm
Yep.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Kettlebell.
Yeah, kettlebell. I've got a 13-year-old kid, and I can throw him at somebody. I mean, that's cool too.
Right. Yeah, I think that might be. You should save that one for last. That'd be good.
Yeah,
That's like in
especially
my.
when he does this mid-air, just like wow, whatever, almost like the Zeta Zhang official pose, like that kind
Yeah,
of, yeah.
you should definitely do that. You should do that. I mean,
There you
it
go.
failed me, so I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but I mean, it worked for me. So
I
you're
mean,
not
I'm
saying it now, so
I'm a tad bit girthier around the, I guess, the childbearing hips. So I guess, man. I mean, if what's the gentleman in New Japan? There's a guy that does the hip tap, like he just hits people with his posterior. So if it works for him, then why not work for me, right?
you know, you're right. You're right. I agree. I agree with that type of thinking.
There you go, man. But dude, I mean, you're in. Obviously, we've upped the production budget here at According to Woods because I mean, you're in Taiwan right now. How's everything been where you are?
How's it over here? Uh, it is normal life. Uh, I don't have any of my production things because I'm in Asia. And for some reason, you would think that all the electronic stuff is cheap out here, but no, it's not. It's not. Not out in Taiwan. It's I try to get another like setup going, but I just didn't see the point in me buying a whole another thing of it when I have the most badass setup in my house in the US. So this is what you're seeing. This is my background. This is a room. It's messy, and then there's a cheap ass light. Yeah, and some sunlight, some natural lighting.
That's that's awesome. Stephen Tatum is saying Zeta, Zeta, Zeta. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, Steven Tatum. Are you related to what's that guy who's the stripper on that
Big John
movie?
Tatum? I don't know. Ugh. Um, yeah, you
Oh
gotta
no,
answer. And Adam, is this the first international exclusive? I mean, you are from the Carolinas, so I mean that's as foreign as it gets. No? No, nothing.
He's just
Okay.
bye, bye.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's somewhere along the Appalachia, and the setup looks good. You go, girl. You go, girl.
Yes, yeah. It's just a dirty ass room. But I should probably close this closet. There's a lot of my parents' clothes in here. Um, oh god. But
I mean,
yeah,
you,
get this
you don't want
closet.
anything coming out of
My
it.
parents.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Well, I'm gonna show you how random it is. This is my mom's clothes. There's some Asian rice hats
hi,
in
mom's
case
clothes.
we go out to the field to pick some rice. And then there's a bed inside of the closet where my dad sleeps.
Wait, where your dad sleep or do you sleep? Are
I,
you kind of sequestered in your mom's closet? Do explain this.
because okay, so the AC, it's not central AC over here.
Okay.
And so it and it's kind of pricey for AC. So basically we just turn it on in this one room and we just end up all sleeping in the same room. We're just like whatever, we're just hanging out in the same room. And so I sleep with my mom on the bed and my dad's like, "You know what? I like sleeping in the closet because it makes me feel comfortable and private." So he sleeps in the closet.
I mean, there's so much to unpack there that, rather than, you know, even sleeping on the floor or what have you, he's just like, nah, you guys are noisy, such a nuisance. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the closet. I've got my own setup, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
even the
does.
living room, like that could be a thing, but no, he's like, it's like the CKY song, "Close Yet Far," It's like 20 feet away, or however many centimeters, because you're on European conversion time or whatever.
EMT time, whatever that stands for.
Yeah, yeah, and Stephen probably says he's probably related to Channing Tatum, or
There you
Stockard
go.
Channing.
Channing Tatum.
There you go. There you go. I was thinking about Hollywood John Tatum, who trained Bob Holly, right? Hardcore Holly. That's
Mm-hmm.
just like my brain thinks in wrestling. So I'm all like, blah blah blah. Somebody shouts out of town or whatever, and I'm like, oh, Ric Flair, 1982, blah blah blah, and yeah, it's weird.
That's
It's weird.
that's really good that your brain is always in wrestling. I should be considering I am in wrestling, but my brain is in nothing.
I thought that was like, what was it?
Floating.
Your ailment, well, I mean, you're the first wrestler signed to the WWE kind of developmental system without certain body parts, right? I
Yep,
mean,
I am. No ACL. Got approved. Oh, by the way, so yesterday, went and got my knee checked out just to see, and the doctor was like, "Wow, you have no ACLs in both knees. How are you walking?" I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "You don't feel any pain?" I'm like, "Nope." And he was like, "Okay." He was like, "Okay." But
I mean,
no.
you could have said you watch like copious amounts of Forrest Gump. There's that iconic scene where he kind of malingers out of his braces. And it's this earth-shattering moment and whatever, and that could have been the genesis of the rehabilitation of one Zeta Zhang. I don't know.
That's basically me, but except I didn't have to go through the birthing out of the break period. It was just like, up, there goes my knees. And then it's like, up, it's a miracle. I'm walking.
Yeah, with that statement, I swear I found the perfect holiday gift for you. I'm going to spoil it. I guess I'm Meltzer here, where I'm probably going to get you a moo because that was old AF. I'm just saying. like mexing my hips and whatever, and I mean, Geritol ensues. But I mean, you you're a wrestler, right? And I mean, there's been, especially during the last 5 months of, like worldwide quarantine, what have you. Um, I mean, what's the scene like there? Are you training, or like what's the deal there? What's the dealio?
So, they have a wrestling promotion out here. It just got switched owners basically. The original guy, he sold it off to someone else, and this new guy is doing really well as far as marketing it, because there's a Taiwanese promotion that's been out here for freaking like over 20 years that no one knows about. I'm like 20 freaking years, but the guy was, he loves wrestling, but he's more so about the, hey, I just want to do the show for me. He's very just into wrestling. And yes, there's a loyal fan base, after all these years, there's a loyal fan base, but he's not so keen on the marketing aspect. So unless you are a wrestling fan, then you'll know about it. But if you're like trying to gain new fans, it's not really, known enough to. So this new guy, he understands the business aspect and he's pushing it, which is nice. But because of coronavirus and everything else, it is starting out a lot slower. They have shows every week. Uh, it's not anything. I mean, it's not anything like huge, except for this coming weekend. It's going to be at a pretty nice venue. It's going to be at a like a music festival, and then the other one's going to be at this like club. But the one they had the week before, it was just like a house show, so very small. But other than that, like I think they're doing something good with it. And I went and trained once because they only have classes on Saturday, and then they had shows. So I'm basically waiting to train. I'm waiting to train. I need to train more. I literally went in and it was all just like easy stuff. It was an easy training day, but obviously haven't bumped in like forever, and I was basically crippled the whole time after. It was so painful, just like so sore from everything. I felt like I got hit by a truck, because that's apparently how it's like when you take a bump. It's like getting hit by a car. So,
Oh,
yeah. I was
yeah,
like,
so
damn, so
much fun.
the whole time. That's what I've been doing for my body this whole time. But, you know, I'm happy to be in there. I'm also, training at an MMA gym just to make sure I stay in shape, stay skilled, and whatever else. And then when I'm back, it's go time.
Yeah, and it's funny that you were saying about the current promoters' kind of plight and lack of marketing. But I mean, look at it. I mean, he was able to have somebody, who has, I mean, 110,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram, another 20.1 followers on the Twitter machine. And I was like, let me just pay her to do this stuff. So I think it's pretty genius. It's like, you'll post about it, whatever, right? That's genius.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, that's true. I agree.
You're not booked yet, or
No, they don't. They're not really super. What is it? Like, because of my knee situation, I have to be safe about everything, and I'll probably go wrestle something, but they aren't really in the like I'll do it here and there, but I need to protect my body for when I have to wrestle when I get back. But they're not really there with the budget here.
So for shame, for shame. Even in Taiwan, you got Ariana Grande, and they were like, "Thank you, next." Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, it's just like uh, I at the end of the day, it's like I have to think about my knee, and it's like, yeah, I could wrestle, but if I'm not getting paid for it, it's like I don't have the money to go pay for my knee because I'm spending money on going to get my knee fixed and looking at my knees, like going to the doctor and everything. So, yeah, I'll do it for like, because people are cool. They're really nice and everything, and they're letting me train. It's like everything has to be a trade off.
That makes sense. Like the ebb and flow. And Steven is like, please give the girl, let her take some bumps somewhere. Wrestling bumps because different. I was knee deep in watching Kingdom, so a bump to me in my brain it means something completely different. And shout out to those who do those things, I guess, right? And the magic of these social media machines, says Steven Tatum, absolutely. And he's asking, do you have a wish list somewhere, somehow? I guess.
Yes. Yes, I do. I have a long wish list actually, because there's so many like necessities. It's crazy to think like it's crazy to think the stuff that you need. You usually don't think about it, but I'm like, oh wait, there is. I gotta wash my floor, so I'm gonna go get this floor cleaner. But it's stupid because my wish list, a lot of the stuff is just necessities. But yeah, I do have one on Amazon.
There you
Everyone's
go.
like,
And I'm assuming that it's on
oh, it
the
must be so
Instagram, right?
cool. A lot of no, I don't have it like out and about. Actually, I should put it on there. Actually, I forgot about that. But no, I have it on Amazon, and send me a message on Instagram, and I will send you the link. And I really appreciate it. By the way, that's awesome.
There you go,
Yay!
Stephen. There it is. There it is. Um, so obviously, you are kind of a Renaissance woman in the sense that you wrestle, you do music. You're an aspiring stunt woman. So like, how did it all? And a former, you're never a former mixed martial artist. Just because you don't compete doesn't mean you don't train. But like, how did all of these things kind of come together?
Um, well, I did compete actually. I competed 4 times in MMA, and then I had 4 tournaments and like 13 matches in jujitsu. But it was a long time ago. So now it's like now I just train because I love it. I miss it. But I just always loved art in general. I consider myself an artist first. It's something that I've always wanted to do my whole life. As soon as, you know, actually, I remember the first time I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I was 2 years old. And I remember the like incident really well. It was my dad, he likes to draw a lot. So he was drawing a horse, and me hanging out with my dad, I also wanted to draw a horse. It looked like shit, but I drew this horse. And after I finished drawing it, I looked at it and I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I remember thinking that to
That's
myself, 2 years old.
not. Do you remember what you were into? Because it's funny, because like right around the same time period of my life, I found pro wrestling. I mean, I remember as like I remember vaguely, like being into like Tom and Jerry and Popeye and stuff like that. And then when I saw wrestling, I was just like so transfixed. Like it was it. But do you remember the things that you were into before your dad kind of, started doing that and putting that in your psyche?
I kind of do. I mean, that's like being younger than two though. Like at 2 years old, I already knew I wanted to do art. But younger than that, I I don't I just remember that I like guys toys. I was a tomboy growing up, so I remember playing with like cars, dinosaurs, uh, like Ninja Turtles. I've always been attracted to rocks. It's so lame. Uh, I've always been attracted to rocks. Yeah, I like collecting rocks. I had a whole book on rocks and minerals. And yeah, I know you're trying to learn about to laugh. You're trying not to laugh. I know you're trying not to
I'm
laugh.
not judging.
I was a freaking
Not
nerd.
judging.
I was a nerd and I really enjoyed science. So as a kid, I mean, I was kind of a loner. I was a loner. Yeah, I was a loner. So I basically was just very shy and kept to myself. And I remember those being my interest. And even though when I discovered art, that was like my whole life, I still did all those other things that I enjoyed. And then along the way, I just picked up this and then that. And as I got older, I realized there's so many things I ended up picking up. It's like, so 2 years old, I fell in love with art. 9 years old, no, actually, no, younger, preschool. So I was like 3 years old. I fell in love with singing, and then like really fell in love with it around 9 and got super serious about it at 16. So it was a whole gradual thing. Like, and then art was throughout. Like, art was the only thing that had been consistent in my whole life. And it was something that I knew that I wanted to do. And it was the only thing that I felt that I was naturally gifted at. I felt like I was good at it. And it wasn't something that I needed to put in much effort to win art competitions. So I've been winning art competitions ever since I was as young as I could remember. So it was something that I was proud of and something that I felt like is what I'm meant to do because I actually wasn't very good at school. Like my grades weren't all that great. Um, I learned English really late, so it put me behind on schooling. And so I felt like I had to catch up my whole life. And I got tutored when, my parents ended up doing better and was able to afford a tutor for me. I ended up having to get tutored basically my whole life because of me just always having to play catch up with my schooling. But the one thing that I was always good at throughout was art. So I just knew that was like my thing. So I ended up going to VCU for art school. Um, Took a lot of convincing, went out there, but this is the life lesson that I learned about myself is that you can't get too comfortable with what you're good at because part of it, talent will take you so far, but the other part of it is hard work. And I coasted through with my art and never had to work hard at it to be good at it. And when I got to college, I realized like, damn, everyone's art is so good and they can draw it fast. And that's the key point to art is you having the skill to draw fast and good. Like yeah, I know I can draw something good. I know I can do it as good as that person, or if not better, but it's going to take me 3 times the amount of time. And that is just not, that when you're at the college level for art school, you got to be able to draw some amazing artwork within an hour type of deal. So because of that, I realized that, you know, all these years I should have put in more effort. I never got taught that. And I learned all my life lessons during college. During college is when I started jujitsu, when I started modeling, when I started like really deciding to take some time to pursue singing and dance and acting. So all those experiences is what led me to where I am. I started, it was something I've always wanted to do, but it didn't get to happen until college because I was just so concerned with other aspects of my life. Um, a lot of it was because of insecurity. So I got bullied my whole life growing up, and I had bad social anxiety. Like I said, I was a loner, I had no friends, and it all affected my psyche where it made me fearful to go pursue the things that I wanted to pursue. I would never go do it because I never believed in myself and think that I could. The one thing that I believed in myself for was art, and my dreams got shattered when I went to college and realized that I'm not where I need to be. So it was like a wake up call. Like I spent my whole life thinking this is what I'm going to do. And then reality hit me when I hit college and I realized I'm not where I should be. So that's when the super hard work came in. I feel like I've always worked hard growing up because I needed to please my parents and get decent grades. Otherwise, I'd fail all my classes. So I had to bust my ass just to try and maintain decent grades. But when I got to college, like it was a whole nother level of working hard because at this point I wasn't doing it for someone else and I was more doing it for me. I was fully doing it for me at that point. So I went to the extremes. I didn't sleep for a month and a half. I only slept like 2 hours a night. Out of that whole month and a half, there was like 72 hours I didn't sleep at all. I ended up stressing my body out so much that I ended up in the ER and had really bad vertigo. Yeah. And ever since that incident, I can't stay up like 24 hours anymore. If I do, I start like getting dizzy spells because I just fuck my body up so much. Because apparently vertigo it's like a thing in your body. It's not a disease. It's just a condition that
Right.
gets that is inside a person's body. And if you get overstressed to the point where it comes out, it basically lies dormant in your body. And if it comes out, it's out forever. And you'll always have it for the rest of your life, which is so weird. And what was crazy was before I got it, I was reading about vertigo 2 years before I ended up getting it. And it's apparently a very rare thing for someone young to get it. It usually happens for someone older. But, your body does crazy things when you're overstressed. And I was beyond stressed, I was in college full time. I had 4 jobs steadily. Actually, almost I had 14 jobs at one point, but I cut it all back to 4. Yeah. uh, I had training, a lot of training. I was training for my first jujitsu tournament, and I was also trying to get into like art school, because you go to VCU, it's an art school, but you have to go through a whole process to try and get into the program. So I was taking the undergrad parts or whatever you call it, the prerequisites of getting into art school, but then there's the portfolio side of it, which is so much work. Like you don't sleep. It's just nonstop drawing. And I just had so much on my plate to the point where one day I was rolling in jujitsu, and all of a sudden I remember I I ended up in the person's guard, and I remember popping up to push up, and I looked upwards, and the whole room was spinning. And next thing you know, I'm getting swept over and over. I'm just like, why do I keep losing balance? Why am I getting swept? And then when I stopped rolling around, I realized the whole room was rolling. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I couldn't even walk, couldn't even drive. Like, I ended up really unsafely, like, slowly driving home. And I had vertigo badly for almost a month straight. It was 3.5 weeks. And it was so bad where luckily I had roommates at the time. Like, they had to take me to do basics like use the bathroom, take a bath. Like, I couldn't even go and pee or go take a bath on my own because it was so bad. But yeah, I ended up going to the hospital and getting medication for it to calm it down. And after a while, a lot of sleep and de-stressing, it got better. So, but it's not ever gone. So because of that, it was always all these things that I ended up I just loved doing. And as I got older, and was exposed to the world more, I discovered more things that I loved because I was so sheltered growing up and I was so alone growing up that art and drawing was all I had. But when I went off to college and I got offered a modeling job, I went and modeled, which naturally meant acting was, part of it. Um, I did a lot of commercial stuff. So commercial acting and stuff, nothing like too serious, but I did some music videos and a short film and whatever. But that's what made me realize, like, oh, I really like this. And then when I got offered to go sing and perform, I did that. And I'm like, oh, I really love this. And then recording and all this stuff. And then dance. And then I ended up getting offered to be a go-go dancer at a few clubs. And so I enjoyed that. And then with martial arts, like discovering jujitsu is what made me fall in love with that form of art. But no matter what, everything about my life that's been consistent is art. So that's why I feel that when someone asks me, like, what are you this, are you that, because it was actually really confusing for a while for the public, because when I was doing MMA at that point I was starting to gain a fan base, and people got confused because I started jujitsu around the time I was modeling. I technically started jujitsu a month and a half before I started modeling. And back in the day when you're training, you're not allowed to sit there and take photos of yourself in the gym. Like, you're in there to work, you're in there to train, and they don't want any photos taken. So no one freaking knows that I was, only the people that I told, like, hey, I got training, knows, and my teammates knows that I train. But outside of that, no one knows that I did martial arts. All they see of me online is modeling stuff, because modeling is easy. Like, you take a photo, you get it done, and then you post it. It's quick and easy. There's a fast turnaround rate. It's not like MMA where you're training your ass off every single day until the day that you fight, and then you see what the person has been doing. I don't sit there and take photos of me at the gym. So because of that, people think that I was a model instead of a fighter or whatever else. But really, I had already been training and stuff. And yeah, I was a model, but I they think like I was some model that just turned fighter. I'm like, no, it's actually kind of the other way around. I did jujitsu before. Uh, I did jujitsu before modeling, but yeah, it was kind of around the same time. So when people see my stuff, they think I'm a model. And on top of that, naturally, I got because I'm around it so much and I modeled. People had me come and be a ring girl. So I was a ring girl. I literally worked everything, almost every single part of an MMA promotion. I was a ring girl. I was an announcer and an interviewer. I wasn't like full announcing. I was kind of like partly half announcing with someone, and I was a interviewer, and I was a singer. I sung the national anthem at the shows and stuff. And I was a fighter. I was a inspector, a judge, and like literally every part of an MMA promotion I've been around. So it was very much a big part of my life, but no one saw it. And only the people who can confirm it because I was there are the ones who, are my proof. Um, but so because of that, as I'm training, I'm gaining more muscle. I'm getting more muscular. Next thing you know, and the thing is, like, genetically, I think I gain muscle really easy. So I just like started training
Lucky
and I
you.
just freaking, huh?
I said
Yeah,
lucky you.
I just like I mean, yeah, guys always say lucky, but I hate it because I just keep gaining weight every freaking year. Actually, I just weighed myself at the doctor's yesterday and my body fat went down and my weight actually is about the same. So, uh, it kind of, which is high. My weight is high. So that means my muscle mass went up somehow, even though I haven't been doing anything here. I don't lift. I haven't done anything out here. Like I did wrestling training, like which doesn't really. It's not like lifting. And it was easy wrestling training. Did that like 3 weeks ago, and then I did some Muay Thai and MMA training last week. So that means I haven't worked out at all. The only workout I get is walking around, and I don't understand how I am leaner now, but my weight has gone kind of higher, and the body fat went down. So that means I somehow gained muscle. So that's it. Kind of sucks because every year I gain about 2 to 5 pounds, but my body fat stays about the same, and I don't do anything. So I'm not really sure. It's kind of annoying, but I will never get down to my fight weight ever again if I just keep gaining, gaining, gaining. But anyways, but like, so as I was saying, oh yeah, so because of all the MMA training, uh, I'm gaining muscle really fast, and next thing you know, I'm getting shit from the modeling community saying that I look like a man and saying that I'm too muscular and whatever else. And that's not the first time me being accused of that. Like I've been bullied for that as a kid just because I used to bike ride a lot. And so my calves are really huge from all the biking that I did and my legs are like really big because of it. But I used to get made fun of all the time for biking because they say that I have man legs. And then, later on, now I'm in this modeling community. I'm getting crap for looking too manly. And I'm getting my photos back from photographers, and they're photoshopping down my legs and making them thinner than they are. And yeah, it's like crap like that. And then I'm also getting shit from the MMA community, basically saying, oh, she's not tough enough to be a fighter. She's just a model and whatever else. I'm just like, what the fuck? So it was because of haters that made me realize, like, I don't know, there's something vengeful about me where if someone is talking shit, I like to prove them wrong. So I use it as fuel to my fire. So it's because the reason why I've always wanted to model, it's a much deeper than that. The reason why I've always wanted to model on top of that is because I was told I was ugly my whole life. So being bullied and just being told I was freaking ugly my whole life, I just wanted to prove that, what, I can get paid to look good. So when I became a model, it helped my self-confidence, and it was the beginning of my drive to prove people wrong. So then I did that. Then, I was also doing MMA, and then they were hating on me for just being a model. So I ended up competing and busted my ass to make sure that I won all my fights and tournaments, which I have. Um, I'll probably get my ass kicked nowadays. You know, it's been a long time, but during the time, yeah, I have a 4-0 in MMA, and I placed in all my tournaments, 2 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze. So I did it to prove them wrong, and also because it was something that was good for me, because it gave me a thing to work towards. It taught me discipline. It really actually gave my confidence. When I won my first jujitsu tournament, my life changed. And that's why I fell in love with jujitsu so much. Like before I did it, because before originally why I did jujitsu was because me and my ex, my first boyfriend at the time, we joined it together. And the reason why we did that was because I moved to Richmond, Virginia, and I was there in a really unsafe neighborhood. And actually, all of Richmond was freaking unsafe. It was rated like #1 murder city in the whole U.S. for like 4 years in a row, and this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. So by the time I got there in 2007, it was still ranked #4. So
Oh,
the thing with Richmond is it is a very dense city. There's a lot of people crammed in a small vicinity. So it's just a lot of stuff over there. So because of that, you know, shit would always happen. It'll be a rape here, a stabbing here, a shooting here, like all one street over from me. Everything's like close by. So you're always at risk of getting shot or killed or raped and stabbed. I have several friends that actually got stabbed. Like it's like a big deal apparently. Um and but I was there and I was naive. I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia, in a small town, and sheltered my whole life basically. I was very shy and introverted. So it's not like I ever went out. I was never really exposed to the dangers of the world. And so because of that, I ended up going to college thinking nothing's going to happen to me. It's a big city. There's all these people. Why would they target me out of all the people in this city? And I was really freaking wrong. So the first Halloween was when I think I told you, yeah, the first Halloween was when I got tricked by some dude to lead me down a dark alley. I was trapped between 5 dudes in their car. Did I tell you this? I'm not sure if I
no.
did. Okay, so this is how I started my MMA career, my jiu-jitsu martial arts career. So it started because it was my first Halloween in college. It was my first Halloween there, and this was before GPS units on your phone.
Right.
So I'm trying to get to this party that my friend was at, and she's giving me directions on the phone. And I'm like, okay, I knew I was close by, but I didn't know like where it was. So I'm like, hey, do I take a left or a right? And she goes, stay there. I'm gonna have my friend come get you and he'll lead you here. So I waited about 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, there's a dude that shows up and waves his hand out the sunroof window for me to follow him. So I didn't say anything about a party. I just said, hey, did I talk to you on the phone? And he's like, yeah, the party's over here. He mentioned the party. So I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the dude. So I followed him, and then I realized when he pulled his car up and I pulled up behind him, I realized there was another car following behind me and with 4 guys in there. So I'm trapped between 5 guys, and they freaking lead me down some dark narrow alley that was only wide enough for 1 car. So I'm stuck between these 2 cars down some long dark narrow alley, and I call my friend and I'm like, hey, I think I'm here. I think I'm in the back of the building. Like, where are you? And so she's trying to find me and she can't see me, and I'm here flashing my headlights like, how do you not see me? And after what felt like 10 minutes, I don't even know how long went by, but it felt like a full 10 minutes. I looked at my rear view mirror and I felt like there was something wrong. I just knew something was wrong because the car in the back, all the lights were off. the dudes were all slouched in their seats, like all of them just waiting. It was like they were waiting on the guy in the front to do something before they all jumped in to do something. So the guy in the front, he got out of his car. He was standing 3 feet away from me. My door was open. My window was rolled down. Like my dumbass, like, thought this was the guy. And I even asked him, I was like, hey, is this where the party's at? And he lied to me and said, yes, this is where the party's at. And I believed him at the time. When I saw that something didn't seem right, I didn't know what to do. And I felt this sick, sinking feeling in my stomach, like something bad was about to happen. And all I could do was try and stall for time and try and think of a way out. But the problem is, I couldn't think of any way out. Like my brain was so far away from thinking anything like that would even happen. It was like a movie, and I didn't know what to do. And so I just keep asking the guy that's in the front, is this where the party's at? I asked him 4 times. And after the fourth time, my friend overheard him on the phone. And she goes, who's that? And as soon as she said, who's that? Like, I lost my cool, because something about me realized that I'm in a dangerous situation, and I couldn't keep it cool anymore. And I just started freaking out. And I was just like, what the fuck? Is this not the guy that you said that was going to come get me? And he's obviously right there. He freaking heard everything. He saw my reaction. And then he started getting aggressive. He got up on my window and he goes, what? You don't believe me? You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, go back where you came from. And I was so lucky, because this was based off reaction, and I didn't even realize my surrounding at the time. I was so lucky that, like I said, this alleyway is so narrow. It's only narrow enough for one car to fit. But the building that I was parked next to, between those two cars, it was slightly shorter than the other two buildings. So it allowed me, and the car behind me was back just enough where I was able to back up a little bit and do a C turn out. And I freaking got away. If this building was not shorter, I'd be stuck between the two buildings. I would have been dragged out of my car and I would have been gang raped and killed. But the only reason why I don't think he got aggressive immediately was because he saw that I was on the phone with someone. If I wasn't on the phone today, he would have just freaking jumped me with the other 4 dudes and I would be dead. And it was during a time where there was all these gang rapes, because after that incident happened to me, 2 months later, my friend got gang raped. Yeah, she actually
No.
got gang raped, but it was fucked up. Luckily, she's alive, but she was so drunk walking home from campus. 6 dudes raped her. And yeah, so it was a thing that was going around. I don't know if it's the same dudes or what, but I don't know. But it was all there. So it scared me so much where I felt like I needed to do something to protect myself. And because my background as a kid watching martial arts movies, Ninja Turtle, wrestling, it's always kind of been an interest of mine. Playing video games, like fighting games, Mortal Kombat specifically. It's always been in my mind that it's been an interest. But the problem is, in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I'm from, they didn't offer something that I felt comfortable taking. And because I was so shy and like not confident in myself, I felt self-conscious about taking karate, because that was like the only thing offered. It was karate and taekwondo. That was the only thing offered in my town. And you know how karate and taekwondo, it's all about forms and making the noises like ha ha whatever. And I thought, like, yeah, I was just like, that looks stupid. I'm self-conscious about doing it, and I'm not going to take it. So I didn't. I even went as far as telling my mom I wanted to take martial arts, and she drove me right outside a martial arts place, and I looked through the glass window and saw everyone doing that, and I was like, nope, not for me. I didn't do it. So it wasn't until I was so scared. At this point, I'm in college, scared out of my mind, thinking I need to protect myself, is what forced me to go take martial arts. But luckily, I was in Richmond, where they had more options, and there was jujitsu. And jujitsu was, just freshly popular for a little bit, for a while. This was 2007, you know. Um, and my boyfriend at the time, he was really into watching UFC, and he really enjoyed the grappling portion of it. So he told me, he's like, well, maybe we can take jujitsu together. And so I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And it was because I was going with him, I had the confidence to go do it. But he didn't live in Richmond, he lived in my hometown. We dated when I was 16, before I hit college. So we dated for a long
Ah,
time. So he would only train, like we would only go training if he came up to Richmond to visit me. And that wasn't often. That was only like twice out of a month. And so and when he came up, like we would want to hang out rather than go train. So out of the whole month and a half, we only went twice. And then afterwards, he broke up with me. And I was fucking pissed. Yeah, because we had a lot of problems in our relationship. We were really on and off. And when I was in college, he just figured it'd be easier because we're long distance. So he broke up with me. And I was pissed. And I was just like, fuck this. I'm going to go train my ass off, and I'm going to go kick his ass when I see him. And I'm going to show him how freaking good I got. And there's nothing he can do about it. And I'm going to be better than him. So, like, that was my fuel to the fire. I was like, I'm going to kick his ass when I see him. So I went and trained really hard, and I ended up getting the attention of my like coaches. And next thing you know, they're convincing me to go do a tournament. And I ended up, so the first gym I was at was actually like a bullshit gym. So the history of this gym is it's a McDojo now. Like that's what it is.
oof.
But back then it was actually legit. Back in the day when they first started, they were the first people to bring jujitsu to Richmond, Virginia. And
Wow.
yeah, and they trained all these people, and they ended up getting good, and they started breaking off and forming their own schools. So there's a really well-known like jujitsu group and team, I guess. There's like a bunch of they're like they're kind of like franchised in a way, um, because they're pretty big in like DMV area, Richmond, DC, Virginia, Maryland area, whatever. Um, called Revolution BJJ. It's there's fuck, I can't even think of the name right now. There's Andrew Smith is someone that was well known over there because he was, I think, the first guy to bring the lazy style jujitsu to like the really Eddie Bravo type jujitsu to that area, to the East Coast. So he's known for that. So basically, yeah, there's that team, and then there's like all these other things. So basically, people broke off and formed their own gyms, and so the owner of that gym became, I mean, he was just a sleazy guy in general, but he ended up telling his jujitsu coaches to not teach proper jujitsu. So a normal jujitsu, like breaking the guard move, is several moves, but instead he narrows it down to three. He like simplifies it so much where it would only work like on a blue belt at most, and then you can't advance anymore. So it's, I didn't realize, because it was the first time being exposed to jujitsu and the first time being exposed to really like a sport that I wanted to take. Like PE and school sports and all that being required to take, that doesn't count. I was just kind of going through the motions, but I didn't actually want to be there. So I actually hated sports growing up, which is ironic. And then jujitsu was, I hated sports growing up. I actually got caught for playing hooky because I was trying to skip out on 30 minutes of PE back in middle school. Like, it's like that. I freaking hated sports. I hated exercising. I hated sweating. Yeah, but it's changed my life so much that I ended up exercising my ass off and doing sports and training so hard for the sake of jujitsu. I wanted to be so good at it that I was willing to do the things that I hated just to be able to do jiu-jitsu. So I was doing that, and then I ended up meeting this guy who was a coach for a MMA gym. So the MMA gym that's big in Richmond was MMA Institute. Actually, Tom Lawler went there. Yeah, he went there. We actually had, it was one of those hidden gems type of gyms. We had a lot of people who had a lot of talent and potential and just like natural fighters. I'm talking like these, like, I'm in Virginia. So these are like fucking hillbilly mountain fucking guys who are just naturally good at fighting. I'm talking like, oh, there was this fucking guy, this one guy, George Shepard. He fought in Bellator several times. But like, it's fucked up because there's a lot of politics in MMA, as you know. Um and he basically just, he was always the guy that would take the last minute fights, and basically always the person that's set up to lose, but he would go in there and knock someone out every single time. He has like a 16 streak whatever knockout record or some shit at the time. I don't remember. Yeah, he had like a great knockout record. But he never fucking trained, ever. He never trained. And his training would be like, my coach would tell him, hey, you got a fight coming up in 2 days. And he'd be like, okay. And he just goes into the gym and hits some bags. And then he would go on to Bellator and knock someone out, like being the underdog. Yeah, it's crazy. And he eats like shit. He eats McDonald's 3 times a day, but his body fat percent, and he like has a 10 pack. And he was a state championship wrestler. He won states and stuff. I think some, either it was Virginia or somewhere like near around. I forgot where he's from originally, but um, yeah, he was just a freaking athlete, and even though he didn't act like one, it was crazy. And then there was a lot of guys like him there, a ton of them. There was another guy that was exactly like him, didn't do anything. All he did was go up in the mountains and was a complete like mountain man, just hiking in the forest. I'm talking like off the grid for like months at a time where you think he's dead. And next thing you know, hey, you got a fight coming up. He'd show up with no training and freaking win. Like so many guys like that. And so we had a lot of UFC prospects over there at the time. And it was one of those gyms where there was a lot of talent, but they didn't have the fame yet. So it was called MMA Institute over there. So basically, the coach, the jujitsu coach of that gym, ended up, because he, like, everyone's connected in the MMA community. So he saw that I was training whatever with this guy that he knew, and he ended up taking me under his wing to help me. He had a weird relationship. So he was friends with the first gym I was at, the sleazy guy. He was friends with him. He was cool with him because that guy sucked up to him and always treated him well. So he would be friends with him, but he knew how he really is as a person. So he kind of took me under his wings to protect me and let me know that this guy is actually sleazy and you're not really getting the training that you really need. So I'm going to help you for free outside of your gym. So that's what he did. He took me into a regular gym. He worked at a American Family gym. It's called American Family, but it's basically like an ACAC. Um, if you've
Like
have
a
you heard of
like a
it?
YMCA or
Yeah,
like
but like
24-hour fitness?
like yes, it's kind of like a really really nice 24-hour fitness. But
Like
it's
a
kind of like
LA
that.
Fitness or something.
Yeah, but it is 24 hours and it's like got everything. It's like the high tier of a gym. It's like a nice ass gym. So basically, he worked at this gym. Yeah. And I would go in and we would train and he would bring people in to train with me. So he brought in his friend who was my size, who is like one of my good friends to this day, uh, Sean Duong. He's this Vietnamese dude who was really small, smaller than me. he, at the time, I only weighed 118 pounds. He was like 113. And he was a great training partner because he was so small and technical. It forced me to be technical. So we trained together all the time, and he was the first person that was there for the beginning of my martial arts career that I still talk to. So he was there for ever since 2000 freaking 8. I met him in 2008. I started jiu-jitsu around end of 2007. And yeah, so very much the beginning. So he was there since 2008 when I met him. And we both start, actually, he was a blue belt. I was a white belt at the time. And now he's in long, he already got his black belt at this point. Like, he won worlds so many times and Pan Ams and like a lot of places at this point. So it's nice to have him around because I I realized when I went to WWE, everyone is all about, like, entertainment industry is all about, like, what can you show me on photo? What can you show me? Prove to me that's what you did. Prove to me that you did this and that and whatever. Like, all I can show you are my medals and a few pictures of me from my tournaments, but I don't I can't show you all my MMA fights. One is a pay-per-view thing where you got to pay for it online. And then the other two is an underground fight, which was probably illegal. I don't know. I was in California at the time, so I'm not really sure. I did it for money. I was broke and went out there and I was offered to fight underground, and that's what I did. And I won the tournament. So it was that. So, like, I don't have all the proof. My only proof is the people that I train with. They can confirm that I was there the whole time, and he was the person that was there for me during my whole career. So when yeah, he was there, him and that coach, they basically convinced me to do my first tournament, and after winning that, like, it was all over from there. My life changed. I had full confidence in myself. um my mentality was like 180. I used to be that type of person that would be like, no, I can't do it. I can't. I wasn't meant to do this. I wasn't born to do this. Like, I think that I have no control over my future. I think it was just, I can't. It was always, I can't. But after that happened, the cliche of the saying, you can do anything you put your mind to, like, I am such an advocate for that at this point. Like, it really, I truly believe in that because never did I ever think I would do sports, much less go freaking do some crazy ass combat sport like jujitsu and MMA. Like, never did I think that I would do that. And coming from zero sports background, I didn't even know how to fucking lift properly. I didn't even know proper nutrition. Like, I didn't know anything at all about exercise. All I did was listened and did it, and I just put in the time. So I think everything that made me who I am, especially that huge turning point in my life, is what led me to be able to have the confidence to do singing and music and dance and what acting and whatever else. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gone for any of those. Because I tried to go for singing when I was 16. When I got really serious at one point, I went out for the singing competition, and you had to go through this whole thing. If you won the first round, you would get offered a opportunity to go on to American Idol. So I went in to the singing competition. And by the way, I have really bad stage fright and social anxiety, really bad. It was to the point where it affected me on a daily basis. And I think back to my mind when I was a kid, and I was always anxious about my life every day. Like, my whole day was a whole thing of anxiety. Like, from the moment I wake up to the time I fall asleep, like, about had insomnia my whole life, like just from all the anxiety of the world. I am afraid to go outside. I'm afraid to see people. I can't look people in the eyes when I talk to them. Even something as simple as my tutors. Like I remember my parents when they ended up doing well enough in their business, they hired tutors for me. My tutors would come over and they would have to try and find me. They waste like a whole damn 30 minutes to try and find me because I would hide because I'm so scared to see them. And then when I see them, they're tutoring me and I can't even look them in the face. I can't look at them in the face. I'm in the school. I'm at school. I can't look my teachers in the eyes. Like I can't walk around school or walk around in public without thinking someone's staring at me and having the fear that someone's about to come bully me at any minute. So it really affected my life in such a negative way. And I didn't even realize how stressed out I was until I got over that, until I gained confidence in myself to realize, man, my brain doesn't operate like that anymore. But it even was like that up until I was in 12th grade of high school. Like it's been my whole life and that's all I knew. I remember being so scared to go eat lunch at school, so I would starve myself and not eat because I didn't want to be made fun of for the food I ate, because people would make fun of me saying, "Oh, you're eating cats and dogs and blah de blah, like what the fuck? You're Chinese eating, like what the fuck are you eating, rats?" Like shit like that. Yeah, and I didn't have friends really. And if I sat at a table with like five people or less, you were considered a loser. And then people would come up and make fun of you and talk shit about you and bully you while you're like just trying to eat. So I just ended up not eating. I would just not eat the whole day and go home and eat at home. And then it got to a point where I was just so starving that I started hiding in the bathroom to eat. And I hid in the bathroom to eat. And next thing you know, kids are making fun of me, making up rumors saying that I'm bulimic when I just wanted to eat in peace. And so I remember being in high school, all the way up to high school, there was at this point, because I was made fun of so much, I started really caring about fixing my looks, because I got made the easiest thing to make fun of someone off the bat is by their looks, because that's the first thing you see. So they make fun of how I look. And so I tried really hard to try and dress better, try to put on some makeup, try to fix my hair, like try to look good. And I started doing that around the age of 9. As young as 9, I started caring about that. It was when I first started caring about it. Oh, it makes sense. Actually, you know what started it? So I told you I was a tomboy my whole life.
Right.
I played dinosaurs and cars, Hot Wheels, and all that. Um, I didn't learn what a Barbie was until I was 9. I didn't know what Barbies were. I remember there was a girl from my school. She was actually friends with me. So I actually did have one friend, but she was a nerd. She was also bullied, made fun of, and she was actually made fun of more than me, which was, it was crazy. We both got bullied, but she got bullied more than I did. So we were friends, and I remember one day she invited me over to her house and she goes, "You want to play with Barbies?" I remember her face and her voice exactly and the way she said it. And it's like burned in my memory. But she's like, "You want to play with Barbies?" And I was just like, I I don't know what it is. And she goes, "Oh my God, it's only the bestest thing ever." That's exactly what she said. And she freaking grabbed me by my hand and pulled me over to a room. And she just grabbed these Barbies and started making them like walk around and stuff. And I remember being so confused, like, what the fuck is this? Like, and then I realized, like, maybe this is what girls are supposed to play with. And so I made an effort to start being more like a girl. And because growing up, I didn't even want to wear skirts. I didn't want to wear, I hated it. My mom used to dress me in a dress and I would cry. Like, well, I didn't cry actually, but I would like have a whole tantrum because I didn't want to have a skirt on. I only wore like pants growing up when I was a kid, and like jumpsuits and stuff. I had this jumpsuit when I was 4 years old that I absolutely loved. It was a dinosaur jumpsuit, and I had like spikes on like my arms and the side of my legs going down. It was like the most badass jumpsuit. I would still wear that to this day. I literally try looking and I can't find anything like it, which I need to go get a custom made or something because I am all about that. But anyways, so like I realized that's what I needed to do to learn to be a girl. And so when I was 9, I remember I started wearing lip gloss, and that was like my first makeup is clear lip gloss. And I just remember always like putting it on and stuff and trying to be pretty. And I started wearing like caring about my clothes, started wearing like tighter clothes and whatever else to try and appear more appealing at 9. It's kind of fucked up thinking back to this because I was so young, but I felt like so grown. I was like, all right, this is what I need to do. I need to look sexy. And I started watching music videos at a young age. So a lot of BET and MTV, like I watched it all growing up. So I emulated what I saw on TV. I emulated all the girls in music videos and the clothes that they wore, which is complete skimpy as hell. Like, and so
What
I'm
were
just
you
like, this
watching?
is way
Like,
different.
what videos were you watching?
Oh God, what was around when I was freaking 9? Like,
Give me the year, and then I will
okay,
probably give
it was
you.
okay. Spice Girls. A big part of me was Spice Girls when I was young. Spice Girls, Britney
Okay.
Spears, Christina Aguilera. Um, that was what I was into when I was young. And then when I hit 11 years old, I ended up getting into, but well, okay, it was weird. When I was 4, I remember I used to listen to hip hop. I used to listen to Tupac when I was 4. Yeah, on the radio. And I don't know why, but I didn't I I liked it, but my ears didn't like it. Like, yeah. It was weird. I just remember like thinking it's kind of like invasive in my ears. It's kind of like loud in my ears, like the rhythm of it, but then I enjoyed listening to it and I felt so cool listening to it. I remember thinking that at 4 years old. And so I've always kind of just liked, but then the other side of me was into like the girly pop stuff because that's what I was introduced to at 9 years old. Later on, when I was 9 years old, because I was at a public school the first part of my fourth grade year at 9 years old. So I was at a public school. Then, when my parents did better in their business, they sent me to a private school. So I went for the second year and I got held back for fourth grade because I switched from public school to private school and they made me repeat fourth grade, which is fucked up. So I went again for fourth grade at a private school, and I met this girl who introduced me to Spice Girls, and I ended up loving Spice Girls and stuff. So the part of me at 9 years old was like, I really liked hip hop, but I also really liked, like, I liked rap and I liked pop, like girly ass. Like, I remember when I was 11, I went into a record store. Uh, I forgot what name it was. It was so popular back in the day. They're all
Warehouse?
down now. Huh?
Was it Warehouse or Tower?
No, I think it
Fye.
started with an F. FYE. It
Fye.
was FYE. So I went to FYE, and I remember picking out a cassette tapes, and I picked out NSYNC and Eminem, like two opposite things. And I took it up to this counter, and this guy who was checking me out, he he was just like, uh,
Huh?
he was like, oh yeah, the Eminem, like this guy's like in his 20s or something, but I was like 11-year-old kid, and I go to the counter with an NSYNC and Eminem like cassette tape, and he was like, oh yeah, this Eminem album's really cool. It's like really good. And that's what he told me. And then he kind of looked at the NSYNC one like what the fuck, because he's just like what the fuck. So I just remember thinking, okay. So I took it home and I I became obsessed with Eminem, and because I felt like I could relate. to him because he was like an angry ass like person, and I was an angry person growing up because of all the bullying. Like I felt like I could understand through his lyrics. So I felt I really related to him, but the NSYNC and the pop music was what made me feel happy, like good. So I listened to pop because it made me feel good and make me feel like I could, this is what happiness should be like, even though I've never felt like I really experienced it at that time. Um, but the Eminem stuff was something where it made me feel like I could relate and like kind of sit back and kind of cry too, I guess. Um, it's really depressing, actually. Now that I'm like talking about it, it sounds really depressing. Um, I basically, so it was a really weird mix growing up. And so I emulated what I saw on TV in music videos. And so I was listening to that, but then because I was also watching BT at the time, I don't even like remember. I mean, yeah, there was Tupac video. I know I like Tupac um, growing up, but I'm not sure like there was like a bunch of other people, but they didn't really stand out to me. It was Tupac was the only one that like really stood out to me. And the only other, oh, but this was later on. When I was like 13, I ended up like really loving Lil Wayne and Mobb Deep and like it was weird. This is a weird mix. Like it's Lil Wayne or you got some underground rap like hard ass shit like Mobb Deep and 3 6 Mafia and Snoop Dogg and whatever else. So yeah, it's freaking weird. Project Pat. Oh my god, Project Pat. Juvenile, Mystical. Oh, I liked Exhibit at the time. I had his album. Um, I liked Exhibit. Freaking the female rapper I liked was Eve. And the Rough
Eve, right?
Riders. Yeah, Eve.
Eve, yeah.
Yeah, but she wrote it all in caps, so I just called it Eve. But yeah, she was the Rough Riders and shit, and
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, like all those people, like, and then as I got a little older, when Nelly came around, I started liking the, like, I guess they consider them a softer, whatever rapper, um, but like yeah, that's weird to think about. That's like all those people that I would listen to. So I would mostly listen to that. And my pop. I got my pop fix with the NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and whatever else. But then I was also into uh, alternative music. I really loved. Well, the only one I was really into was Linkin Park. I love Linkin Park, and I used to listen to Limp Bizkit before they got to
Yeah. Fuck
yeah
yeah.
I listened to Limp Bizkit and it's weird because I biked so much. I hung out like around the skaters even though I wasn't friends, even though I didn't really have them as friends. Um, I was always just kind of a loner, but I would always see them and kind of be around them because everyone hung out at the same park. They skated and I bike ride. So but then in school, because I was bullied so much, finally in 8th grade was the first time when I started. No, 7th grade, end of 7th grade was the first time when my bullying days became a little bit better because like my school was legit like something out of one that was like coming of age high school movies. It was like so stereotypical. You got the popular group, you got a nerdy group and blah blah and all that, and then if you're a new girl that comes in, you get recruited by the popular group or the nerdy group, but they claim you or they don't claim you when they see you.
Right.
So literally, yeah, it's literally like that. So this girl that was a new girl, she came in at the end of 7th grade and she automatically got recruited to the popular group. But for some reason, she was friends with me. Like she wanted to be friends with me because she told me that she came in and she asked people, she goes, which one's the popular group? And which one's like the cool girls? Like she asked that when she came in. And the person that she just so happened to ask was a girl that I mean, I wouldn't say we were friends because I didn't really have friends, but it was a girl that, because I'm nice to everyone. I've always been really nice to everyone. So because I guess that girl wasn't popular either. I guess she was also bullied, but because I'm nice to her, she likes me, I guess. But she never like really talked to me either, so it was weird. I guess she just liked me without me knowing. So it just so happened she asked this girl who the most popular girl in school was, and she lied and said that I was, but I wasn't. I was a loser. Like I was made fun of. So I wasn't. And then that girl befriended me. And it just so happened that we had the same classes and our lockers were right next to each other. So she became friends with me and we were like best friends. And but the popular crew is trying to recruit her, and she stuck up for me. Like I remember one day we were at lunch and she sat with me at the loser table, and the popular group called her name to come over. And so she told me to come with her. I walked over up there with her, and the most popular girl in school like said to her right in front of me, she goes, ugh, why are you hanging out with her? She's a fucking loser. Like, you should be sitting here with us. And I'm literally standing there. And then um, my friend Jessica at the time, she goes, if she's not coming, if she goes, if Julia's not coming, then I'm not coming either. And she stuck up for me.
Wow.
And to this day, I appreciate her so much for that because it changed my life um, in a lot of ways. So she stuck up for me, and I ended up sitting at the popular table. And just by default, they didn't want me there. No one wanted me there. But because they wanted Jessica there, they had no choice but to let me sit there. And because I was sitting
Wow.
there all the time, eventually, over time, people started liking me. When they got a chance to get to know me, they started liking me and I started getting accepted more. And then there was this guy, TJ, he was like the most popular guy at the school at the time. And everyone like, and at this time, like Ja Rule was really popular and he kind of looked like Ja Rule. So everyone was like, oh, he's so hot. He's like the most like so yeah, so Ja Rule was popular at the time and he was he kind of looked like him. So um everyone liked him and he was the most popular. So because of that, he I don't know if he actually liked me or if he just wanted to like use me as a project to stroke his own ego. Um I think, I mean,
She's all that.
I don't know. Yeah, it was exactly that. He basically um he basically said that he I found out this later. That he basically wanted to um have the power to turn any girl he wanted popular just by talking to her and flirting with her and liking her.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he picked me. Um I don't know if he really did like me, but he didn't feel that he could admit it because I was such a loser. So he used that as an excuse, or maybe he didn't like me and really was just using me as a project. But either way, um, he started like having an interest with me and started like liking me and stuff. And then slowly I got more popular. So it worked. Like I started
Yeah.
becoming more popular. And then the next thing I knew was the bullying stopped. Like by the time I hit eighth grade, like I started becoming okay. So I said that girl came at the end of seventh grade. So the end of seventh grade was that whole ordeal. By the beginning of 8th grade, I started gaining some popularity. Then, by the middle of 8th grade, only got to enjoy it a few months. I got sent away to fucking boarding. I got sent away to boarding school because
Damn it. Damn it.
I know it was horrible. Like my parents and I didn't get along at the time because they were traditional Asian like type of disciplining. I wasn't allowed to do stuff, even though thinking back, I wasn't allowed to do a lot of stuff compared to American kids, but compared to Asian kids, my parents were considered pretty lenient. So, but to me, being born in the U.S., like all and being one of the few Asians in my whole town, it was unfair to me. I was just like, why are people allowed to do this and I'm not? I started working at the restaurant since I was 12 years old. They owned a restaurant. So very
Wow.
typical. Yeah. I worked at a restaurant. I didn't get any money. All my money was I didn't get allowance. Like kids can do chores and get money. I didn't get money. I worked and I didn't get money. All my money was
Wow.
taken away in a bank because they kept everything. I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers. I wasn't allowed to have parties. I wasn't allowed to like do really anything. And so I rebelled. I snuck out. And I wasn't that bad of a kid. I was a typical American teenager, but in their eyes, I was a horrible kid. The worst thing I
Oof.
did was steal. The worst thing I did was shoplift. And I
Really?
shoplifted, yeah. I shoplifted because I was peer pressure too, because the popular girls would force me to. And it was like a competition type of thing. So we would go to Spencer's and steal keychains, like small stuff, go to Claire's and steal like earrings and makeup or whatever else. But like we basically shoplifted, but the the time that I got caught was when I went to Walmart. One of my friends, one of the popular girls, she was worried she would be pregnant because everyone was sexually active at this time. And yeah, she needed a pregnancy test, but
Oh.
one could afford one, and we can't use the money for it because it wasn't our money. And the parents would be like, well, where did the money we gave you go? So they would want receipts. So me and my friend Jessica stole the pregnancy test for her. We did it so she could be okay. Well, little did we know that that day there was an undercover cop there. I
Oh
remember this dude.
no.
Yeah, he looked so normal, and I remember his code word. I remember seeing his face because we were in the aisle, like stealing this, like taking this pregnancy test, and then we walked off with it into the dressing room. And I remember when we came back, the guy was still standing in the aisle where the pregnancy test was, and this guy was all undercover. He was like in a do rag and like a baggy
He was
clothes.
really
Like, he looked like,
undercover.
yeah, I just thought he was a normal guy. And he saw us. I saw him look over at us, and then he got on his phone, and he goes and he said, "I'm looking for my little sister." That was the code. I didn't
That
know.
was
I
the
just
code.
remember thinking of that. I thought it was a little weird. But then as we were checking out, we got stopped by the cops and arrested. We got taken back to the back of Walmart, got our photos taken, our mugshots taken, and yeah,
Walmart
we got
mugshots?
banned from
Oh,
Walmart
great.
until I was 14 at the time. So I was a minor. I was underage. And luckily, I'm so glad I was underage because it's not on my record, and. So I got banned from them from Walmart until I was like 18, and I had my picture in the back and everything, and whatever else. And I had to go to a court, and I ended up having to go to take shoplifting classes, and they basically taught us why it was wrong. Yeah,
Wait,
like it
shoplifting
was all that.
classes in the sense that
Yeah,
what were
it's like
they?
community service,
They taught you not to
but
shoplift or to shoplift better? Like,
It taught me not to shoplift. And they
Okay.
basically like, it's like, look, if you do it, you'll get locked up, you'll be in jail, and blah blah blah. And and they told me that if I were caught again, doing it or on Walmart's property at all, I would be taken to juvenile. So juvie, I'd be taken to juvie. So because of this, yeah, it was, it was a bad thing. So my parents were pissed. After that, shortly after that, they hired private investigators on me, and I had a private investigator follow me for a whole month. At the end of
Mm.
the month, yeah, like, I mean, I wasn't doing anything that bad, but I hung out with TJ, that dude, um, in my basement with this other dude, Devarcus, and we just like hung out in the basement, and we didn't do anything. We just had blankets under there. We weren't like having sex or anything. We just had blankets under there and hot chocolate because it was cold, and we had ordered pizza, and we just hung out. And the most that happened was he like flashed us, but it wasn't dark, so we didn't even see anything. But like, that
It's
was the thing when you're a kid, you get flashed. Like, it wasn't like, So all this, my phone was tapped. I found out every conversation I had was recorded, and at the end of the month, this report came back by the private investigator. And I remember out of nowhere, oh no, my parents told me that they didn't like my friends and that I needed to break from them and I'm not allowed to hang out with them anymore. And I was like, no, these are my friends. Like, they're the ones who, protected me from the bullying, and I didn't
yeah.
want to leave. Like, so I was really upset, and me and my parents didn't get along because I was like, no, I'm not leaving my friends. And like, they look out for me. But so then I mean, another bad thing I did was like vandalize stuff and broke into cars, but we didn't steal it. We just kind of like hung out in there. We just vandalized some stuff, and then we broke into a bus and a car, and we just kind of hung out, and then we came back out. We didn't steal it. So I mean, it was still wrong. It was wrong. Yes, it was wrong, but it was very, very much a typical American teenager stuff to be doing. So they got upset, of course, and when they found out the stuff I was doing, and then they told me that I had to switch to private school, and I didn't want to, and I was like, no, I'm not going to go to private school. And they're like, okay, how about this, we negotiate with you and we let you choose the private school that you like. And I was like, okay, I can deal with that. That sounds fair. I will negotiate and do that. So next thing you know, I'm going to visit all these private schools. And I remember the first one that I visited, I was like, oh, hell no, I am not going to this one. This is like going to jail. This is like going to fucking military boot camp. And it was a military school. It was a military school called Miller. And it was the school where they filmed the movie Major Payne. Major
Oh
Payne,
yes, Damon
Butler did
Wayans.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, Toy Story, Toy Soldiers. There was 3 movies filmed there. Um, but it's a huge school. Then the school looked like something out of like a fucking Harry Potter movie. Like, it was one of those old ass buildings with giant doors, and it's all like in the middle of the mountain, in the middle of fucking nowhere in Virginia. Like, it was in the middle of nowhere. Like, no civilization anywhere around. Like, I'm talking, it takes like a good 20 minutes to even see a gas station, at least. Probably more. It was probably like 30 minutes just to see a crappy ass gas station. Like, it was in the middle of the sticks. So it was like it was over like, oh my God, it was over like 11 acres or some crazy shit. And basically the whole school was on a single mountain, and there was nothing around. And I went there, and there was only, from grades 6 through 12, there was only 131 students out of the whole school. And the
Really?
headmaster, yeah, it was so small. And the headmaster of the school was an ex-military sergeant, and he ran everything like a military. So an average school day is 8 9 hours. 8 hours of
Right,
school,
right.
1 hour of lunch. My average school day was 16 and a half hours. 16 and a half hours was my average school
What
day.
do you do?
So we had to be up and ready to be in class by 6 a.m. And after school, were required to do study hall, which is like our homework time. We were required to do like 2.5 hours of sports, and we were required to have like all these things. Our breakfast, lunch, and dinner was all timed. If you didn't eat, you would not eat. You get no food. You have no phone
What?
calls allowed. You only get one 5-minute phone call once out of the whole week. Like you're not allowed to own any phones, not allowed to own any in like anything. You Yeah, it was your whole day was planned for you, and there was a light out policy. You have to turn lights out at a certain time and go to sleep at a certain time. Like it was like being in jail or being in military school or whatever. So it was the worst thing of my life. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And to this day, I fucking hate school, and I hate the people there. The teachers are corrupt, and that is a shit ass school, and they should not be in business. And I say that confidently, and I don't give a fuck what they say because they treated me like hell. They treated me like shit, and I wasn't. I wasn't even bad. Like they. So, like I said, those were the worst things I did as a kid. I shoplifted a pregnancy test and some keychains and stuff, and I freaking vandalized some stuff and broke into a car but didn't even steal it. So that was the worst thing I did as a kid. Didn't do drugs. I didn't do really much as a kid. And because of this report from the private investigators, it got sent over to the school. So when I went, they automatically had this horrible view of me, thinking I'm the worst kid possible, even though I was so obedient during school. Did my homework, I listened to the teachers, never like I've always been really quiet and shy. I didn't even have friends there. Like I kept to myself. I was just always listening. But nonetheless, they treat me like shit. And I remember going in the middle of eighth grade. Like I said, I got taken out in the middle of eighth grade, and it came out of nowhere. So I went to Miller, and the over there when I was basically in the science class. I went in the middle of the year, so I didn't have any. So basically, like it came out of nowhere. So I remember this so well. It was 10:30 at night on Wednesday. My mom shows up from work after work, and she goes, "Julia, pack up all your shit. You're going to Miller School." Or she didn't say shit. She said stuff. You're going to Miller School. And I cried all fucking night, saying goodbye to my friend over the phone because I knew I was sent away to boarding school in the middle of freaking nowhere. So I got sent over there. I didn't sleep all night. Went there, showed up to school, and my whole face was swollen from all the crying, and I didn't even give a fuck. Everyone was looking at me like, yeah, like I look like shit. And I just went to school like so upset. And then I'm just left there for a whole half a year. Um, and I'm there at the school like hating my parents, angry at my parents, thinking I got taken away from. Finally I get friends. I finally become popular and don't get bullied anymore. Finally a guy actually likes me. I'm taken away from all of that, and then sent away to this fucking piece of shit school. And I go there, and
Tell them how you really feel, Zeta.
yeah, I fucking hate this place. I fucking go there. And the one girl that was there that I knew, she went to the other private school that I went to back when I was in ninth grade, the one who introduced me to Spice Girls. But we had lost touch, and we got back in touch again. So we were cool there. But she was like the only person I hung out with. And when I was there, I remember being in science class, and I waited the whole time for the teacher to lecture. And after she was done lecturing, I whispered to my friend. I whispered and said, "Hey, can I please get your notes from the beginning of the year because I don't have it." Because I'm being a fucking good kid to try and catch up because they didn't give me shit. As a school, you should be. I came in the middle of the year. Why didn't you give me the fucking material that I needed? No. So I had to go get it on my own. And I waited till the teacher like stopped talking. And the whole time she was looking at me like when she was lecturing. And I thought it was weird, but I didn't think anything at the time until as soon as I opened my mouth to quietly ask my friend, she called me out in front of the whole class and embarrassed me. She goes, "Julia, just because you're new doesn't mean you can interrupt the whole damn class." That's what she fucking said. Then she
Oh,
made me get up to, yeah, she made me get up to class. She went like this. I she said that. Then she did this whole like condescending finger thing for me to get up to the front of class. And
oh,
she
like
goes,
that?
"Get this," like that. Yeah, like this condescending bitch finger thing for me to get up to class. I get up to class. I'm standing in front of the whole fucking class, and she looks at me like, and this was during the time where self-esteem shirts were really popular. When you're a teenage girl, it would say things like lovable, cutie, hottie, like, remember those? So I had a
I,
necklace
I
that
think
said
I might have
hottie.
had the halter top.
Huh? You think you might have what?
I think I might have had the halter top that says cutie across with the matching
Oh,
thong. I might have. I don't know.
well,
I
there you
remember
go.
it
Well,
vividly.
it's popular amongst girls, but I had this like, I mean, maybe you remember a girl in your class that had it, but I had this necklace and belt that said hottie. And so she looked at me and she embarrassed me some more in front of class and goes, "Hottie?" She goes, "Hottie, you won't be needing those anymore." And she made me take it off and give it to her. And she fucking took it. Yeah. And
Wait, 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 wait. Where was this? Where was this?
Miller School. Miller School. Miller fucking
Like,
school.
like genuine draft? Like, were they fucking drinking?
Teacher fucked, like the whole staff is fucked up there. One of the teachers, one of the teachers was fucking around with another teacher in the school, inside the school. And they were like having sex all the time there. And then another teacher and her some 20 something year old teacher ran away with a 16-year-old kid there. Like left her husband and married a 16-year-old kid from the school.
What? I
Yeah, like
mean,
it was some like scandalous ass shit over there. So, and honestly, my science teacher, she was freaking weird. I swear she's a child molester. Like, because she was a bitch to me. She hated all the girls and she would flirt with all the guys who were in eighth grade.
really?
Yeah, and this woman's like in her like early 40s, late 30s, early 40s. Yeah. She would always flirt with all the guys. And yeah, I think she's a child molester, to be honest. But she was a fucking total bitch to me. There wasn't a lot of girls in school. There was like 131 girls. And, it was grades from 6 through 12. So, there's only but so many girls to choose from. So she was a bitch to me. I don't know if she called me as a threat or what, but she was an asshole. And so, yeah, she was weird. And then the one teacher that I actually liked and thought that treated me nicely was my English teacher, Mr. Ross. And then I actually enjoyed his class because I thought he treated me nice, and you know, I made extra. I was always kind of like I guess growing up, I just wanted to be accepted so much. I was kind of a teacher's pet. Even though my grades weren't good, like I strived to make it good. I tried. I tried
You
really
tried.
hard to make. Yeah, and I always would, you know, I was always like trying to be liked by the teacher. So I worked hard, and then one day out of class, um, there is this giant ass door. Like I said, it's an old ass building, like something out of a Harry Potter movie. So all the doors are those
Wow.
giant wooden ones. Yeah. So I'm standing outside of class and this giant door is shut and I can't hear anything going on inside because it's like thick ass wood. And Mr. Ross tells my friend that she needs to stay behind. And he goes, I need to talk to you, Stuart. Her name's Stuart. And you need to stay behind. So she stayed behind. And then I was waiting outside for her. And next thing you know, she comes out with this like confused look on her face, like confused and like angered look on her face. And I was just like, are you okay? And she told me that Mr. Ross said, word for word, Stuart, why are you hanging out with that Julia girl? Ever since she's came here, she's been nothing but uh, she has done nothing but brought you down and brought every single person in the school down. She is a horrible, bad influence. You used to be such a good girl. What? Like, I don't know what's happened to you. You shouldn't be hanging out with her. That's what he fucking said. I was only in that school for a fucking month and a half. Like I said, I
Wow.
had no friends. I only hung out with her. And nothing about her has changed when I hung out with her. Her grades were still straight A's. I didn't do shit. I didn't change anything about her. I didn't change anything about the whole school. I didn't even have friends at the whole school. So how the fuck dare him to even say that shit about me? Like, I fucking hated him after that. And I found out, I later found out that him and my science teacher, that bitch, was talking shit about me behind my back because they're friends. Yeah. Like, what kind of childish thing would like does a teacher do people do? Like, you're a fucking teacher and that's what you do? Like, it's fucking childish. They're like they're more of a fucking middle schooler than we are. Like, and abusing their power and basically talking shit about me when they have no valid reason. And so, yeah, basically, I was treated like shit by everyone. All the teachers were talking bad about me when I've done nothing but be a good student. And I remember, and I'm like saying this like so legit. I'm not one of those people who basically, I'm not one of those people who's unrealistic. I'm very realistic with myself. I'll admit if I fucked up. I did not fuck up. I legit was being a good kid. And they were unfairly treating me like a piece of shit. And
Wow.
being a math, back when you get math homework, and
Yeah,
math
yeah.
homework basically, yeah. So usually you have a whole page front and back of math homework. And the last
Right.
two questions are the critical thinking ones. I did my whole fucking homework. I tried to do the last two one, and you can tell I obviously tried because there's so many pencil and eraser marks on it where anyone who looked at it was
Oh,
like, damn, she really tried. Like, and what I did was I showed up to the beginning of class and I said, hey, Miss Kim, here's my math homework. Can you please go over the last two questions because I don't understand them? You know what she fucking did? She straight up looked at me and said, Julia, this isn't doing your homework. And she wrote me a fucking detention slip. She put me in detention for that. Yeah, for
for
that.
trying?
Yeah. She told me that wasn't doing my homework. I did the whole thing. And I even went up in the beginning of class asking her, hey, can you please go over this? Look, like, I don't get it. I tried. Like, you don't fucking see that I tried? Like, are you fucking blind? Like, oh my God, I was so pissed. Like, I was put in detention every single day for no reason. And it got to a point where I didn't even bother to ask anymore because I knew it was automatic detention. Detention was just like an extra class for me every day after that. And you know what's fucked up? And why my days were so damn long was every 1 hour of detention that you get 2 hours of community service, which is basically illegal child labor. They made me go around cleaning and picking up all the trash on this whole like 11 to 14 whatever acre land of a mountain. Go out in the woods and pick up rocks and sticks. Like, that's what I had to do. Go clean shit. Like, that's what I had to do. 2 hours of community service for every 1 hour of detention. So you know what? I had at least 2 hours of detention every day. At least. So that means I got at least 4 hours of community service every fucking
That
day.
sucks.
It was fucked up for a whole half a year, like every single day. And
And your parents were paying for this?
yep, they paid a lot for it. A lot. It was like 14,000 $14,000 a year. Yeah.
So wait, let me get this straight. So your parents put you in this private school so keep you out of trouble. You were working many jobs and then ended up getting in trouble there. They're paying what, $13,000?
At least.
And at least, and then
Yeah,
they're
I guess
getting free labor
that
out
might
of
be. I
you
think it
by
might
you
be
getting
more
in
actually. I think
trouble.
it might be 18,000. I think it might be 18,000. 13,000 was the other private school I went to. It was no, I think it was 18,000. 18,000 a year. So yeah, it was fucked up, and it pissed me off. I hated the school. I hated my parents at the time, and when you get detention, you can't leave the campus. You can't leave. And if you ever leave, you're not allowed to leave. Even if you were good, you're still not allowed to leave unless your parents physically drove hours to get to that school in the middle of bumfuck Virginia, to sign you out physically. They can't even make a phone call for you. They have to physically drive up to the school and sign you out in person. So I couldn't get, I couldn't leave because my parents worked every single day, and they the school is closed at night because they worked a restaurant. They only get off in the by midnight. They're not going to go up and sign me out of school, so I could never leave the campus. And on top of that, I was in detention for no reason, so I wasn't even allowed to leave the school. So there was only once in the beginning where I got to leave once, and I remember I I was taken to that gas station that was the closest one to the school. And I remember not seeing a human being outside of school for so long that I was so happy to just see a person. Like
Wow.
it was so fucked up. Like I just wanted to like see a human being that was in civilization, not locked up on this mountain in the middle of nowhere. So, and the headmaster was fucking psycho because the year that I got there, it became co-ed. So this is why, like, it was legit a military, all guys military school. It was a military school. So by year I got there, it turned co-ed. So there was only 31 girls, and the rest it was 100 guys. So the headmaster was freaking crazy, and he didn't want the guys and girls to like sneak into each other's dorm room. So every night he would hide out in the bushes with a flashlight to try and catch people trying to sneak around. And if he caught you doing anything like that, you would be they were contracted with the local juvenile jails, and you would be sent to juvie. Yeah. So it was a super fucked up place, because the kids that got sent there were either bad kids or they were Korean kids who their parents sent them to the US and they needed them to go to school and have a place to live. So it was, yeah. So it was like 30% Korean, and the rest of it was like troubled kids, I guess, who got sent there. Or there was a few that weren't troubled kids, but a lot of troubled ones got sent there because of the nature of how the school is set up, being a military school and it's a boarding school, and it's just really strict. So I would say 30% Korean kids, 30% bad kids, 30% normal. So I was a normal kid, but they treated me like I was shit. So it was, yeah, it was the worst experience of my life. And so you can see, like, growing up, I was just like, finally, I get where I am. And then I'm like, what the fuck? It's all taken away from me. And I'm pissed. But then later on, when I went to, God, my life is so long. Like, after that, I hated my parents. My parents knew I hated them. Like I said, I only get a 5-minute phone call per week. That's it. I didn't call them out the whole half a year. They called me, and I would be short with them, or I just wouldn't answer their calls. And then one day, my mom asked me, she goes, "Do you really hate it there?" And I was I broke down crying because I really hated it. And I was like, yeah, I fucking hate it here. And so she ended up taking me out of the school. But little did I know, they signed me up for a 5-year contract. They wanted me to go there 8th
No.
grade. So they broke the contract and the school got pissed and banned me from the school. So I'm not allowed to be at Miller anymore because the school got pissed that the contract got broken. So I ended up going to another private school, Covenant, and it was also crap. It was better than Miller, but it was crap. I had this bitch girl there that basically treated me like shit, befriended me and used me, and tried to get me expelled from school. Set me up.
No.
She set me up and got me suspended. She set me up to get me expelled. Luckily, I the stupid school tried to get me to come back, and okay, so this is a long story. Are we gonna get cut off? Because I see there's like 4 minutes. We
There's
said we
what?
got 2 hours. We got 4 minutes. You said we got 2 hours, right?
No, we got as long as you want. Shit.
Okay, cool. Okay, well,
Keep
this is a
keep
long story.
keep it coming.
This is a long story. So
Let's do
this
it.
bitch, she befriended me. This is ninth grade. I'm in ninth grade at this private school, and this bitch Brittany uh, befriended me because I later found out she became my friend because the captain of the football team liked me and she liked him. So she wanted to use me to get to him. And so I thought she was my best friend. We were like best friends, or so I thought. And then she betrayed me in the middle of ninth grade. So we hung out all the fucking time. And then one day, her and this other girl, I can't remember her fucking name, but her friend, her and this other girl, they begged me to bring alcohol for them to try in school. And they begged. And I was just like, no, I can't. Like, they kept begging. There's just like a little bit of a shot, just a small one, and we just want to taste it. I'm like, okay. So I brought them a little bit of a chocolate thing, and it was in a little a film canister holder thing, the plastic thing. You know, when they used to have film and you got to develop the film, it was like barely anything. So I brought it over to them, and then they freaking went to the teacher right after and ratted me out and told me I forced them to drink. I forced them to drink. Yeah,
Fuckers.
I know. And what was fucked up was because they were both in on it, so it was 2 against 1. And what's also fucked up is they, like, my parents, they don't have money. Okay, like, my parents, they grew up poor, they came as immigrant parents, they worked their ass off to be able to put me in school. But I was the poorest person out of the whole private school, and the only way they could afford it was because they saved all their money to be able to put me to the best schools possible. But they couldn't afford it. They just worked their ass off to save the money for my schooling. And
Wow.
all that money that I worked for at 12 years old as a kid at the restaurant, all that money was saved into my savings account that was put towards my school. I worked for that money. Like, that's how it works. So it's not like I'm rich. It's not like my parents are rich. So because it's this Christian private school, they're always asking for donations. And
Yeah.
we already pay like 13, 14,000 a year for school and everything else on top of that. We got to pay like food and freaking books and whatever else. That's not all counted in. That's just basic tuition. And then they're asking for $1,000 donations each time. Like, I remember receiving the letters that my parents received, the letters from the school, and the checkoff marks started at 1,000, like, to donate to the school. Like, my parents didn't have that money, so of course they didn't donate. But everyone else there's rich, so their parents were able to donate. And obviously, because of politics, um, they knew how fucked up Britney was. She was one of those bitches that would start arguments with people all the time on like nearly a daily basis. She would have an argument. And even the principals knew, like the principal and vice principal knew the way that she is, yet they still take her side. And I'm just like, why? And the only thing that makes sense that someone told me was, well, her grandma donates a lot of money to the school. Makes sense.
That's fucked up. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
politics.
yeah, politics. This is why I don't deal with politics. I fucking hate politics. Is why the reason why I liked MMA so much, even though there is politics, but it's a little bit less politics than the rest of the world. So I fucking hate politics. But this, like literally, so because of that, she screwed me over. I got suspended from school for 4 days, and then I was a loner for the rest of ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. And because how the school is, it's such a small school. It's a private school and everyone's cliquey. And once you're claimed by a group or a person or whatever, like the other groups don't claim you. Because Brittany pulled me into her group and now we're not friends, the other groups don't want to claim me. And she's just a bitch and no one actually likes her. Like she was one of those like she was popular only because she was bossy. She was she was popular because she would she would get you what you wanted if you were on her good side type of person. So she was kind of popular in that way. I wouldn't say she's like super popular, but she was liked liked only because people feared her. It was like that.
Yeah, she's infamous.
Yeah, exactly. She was a fucking infamous and whatever bully. So I basically after that, no one claimed me, so I had no friends. I was by myself all the rest of fucking high school, and it was fucking it sucked all the way up to 11th grade. And Brittany tried to befriend me again. She tried to have me forgive her, and my fucking niceness, always getting the best of me, decided to forgive her, and I forgave her all the way. Like this was towards the end of 11th grade. I finally forgive her, and I think we're friends again, and everything seemed perfect for like a month or two. And I'm like, oh, things are back to normal. It's like ninth grade again. It was like when we first met again. It was great. Then this bitch, because there's a dress code at school. You're not allowed to wear like a lot of things. You gotta have collared shirts. You can't wear skirts unless they're like past your knee or whatever else. And so I wore the skirt since ninth grade. It is definitely like to dress code. Obviously, it works to dress code. I'm in Bible class because we have required Bible class. I'm in freaking Bible class, and our Bible quiz is a Bible verse. And I knew my fucking Bible verse. So I'm in the middle of class and we're about to start this quiz. And then next thing you know, I see Brittany go up to the teacher. And then next thing you know, the teacher pulls me out of class. And she goes, your skirt's too short. It doesn't apply to dress code. And I was just like, I've been, I
What?
mean, okay. I wore this skirt since ninth grade. Like I've been wearing it every day pretty much. Like, and they tell me it's not according to dress code. But of course I didn't say anything. I was a good kid and I just shut up and didn't say anything. And I was like, okay. And then I go back into class and then I see Brittany go up to the teacher again and say, whisper something in her ear. And then I get taken out of class again. And I was just like, what the fuck? I get taken out and the teacher said, I was told that you're cheating on your Bible quiz. I was like, what? I'm like, no, I'm not. I will prove to you that I'm not cheating. She's like, well, I was told that someone had to go up there and erase whatever secret notes you wrote on the desk. And I was like, I did not. I will prove to you right now that I know my Bible quiz. Let me like rehearse it to you in front of you right now. And she wouldn't let me. She would not let me. Like, what other way can I prove it? That is the best proof. Is for me to rehearse my Bible quiz to you in person in front of your face to let you know I know it. But the bitch wouldn't let me. The fucking bitch ass teacher would not let me do that. Like, wouldn't even give me the opportunity. Yeah. And she sent me to fucking the principal's office. So next thing you know, and how they deal with their like detention or whatever you want to call it in a normal school, they call it the honor council. So it's basically like going to court. They have 12 people judging you. 12 of them, I mean 12 people, so half of them were from 11th grade, your grade. Half of them is from your grade, is your classmates. The other half is the 12th graders, the seniors. And so I'm being judged by half of my peers in 11th grade and the other half seniors who don't even fucking know me. And then I'm basically sitting in the middle of the whole room in this round table while everyone's judging me of whether I'm guilty or not. Like, and they're pulling in all these witnesses from my class to see, like, if I was cheating or not. And you know what was fucked up and what was so smart of Brittany actually, but fucked up, is what she did was she went up to my desk and pretended like she erased something, and she purposely said loudly in front of everyone in the class, and she goes, "Ugh, I hate when people try and cheat." And then she
What?
pretended to erase something on my desk. Yep, she did it for show. She did it because she knew that would give her witnesses, because it was in front of everyone in class. So when the witnesses came in to give their take on the matter, everyone all said the same thing. Everyone all said, well, they asked, did you see Julia cheat and write something on the desk? Everyone was like, well, we didn't see her desk, but we saw Brittany go up and erase something. So it was already leaning towards me cheating, even though they never had proof. They never had proof and never saw anything written on the desk. Fucking bitch, right? Like, so because of that, it ended up at a standstill. And because it was the end of 11th grade for me, it was the end of the year. All the seniors had to leave a week or two early to go to college. So
Right.
so they ended up, I was being judged by half 12th graders, half 11th graders. And then all of a sudden during the middle of my trial, the 12th graders had to leave. And even my principal, my vice principal, whatever, he was like, or principal, whatever he was, he even told me it would be unfair for me to be judged by only half of the judges because the other half is gone. So he told me to come back during the summer to finish my trial. So you know what I did my whole fucking summer? Was I had to go and have my parents drive me all the way out to this fucking school that was like 30 something minutes away. Wasted my whole
Fucking it.
summer sitting there in detention. In detention. And then for him to say at the end of my summer detention that I had to come back the next year for them to finish my trial. And I said, fuck no, because I know what they were up to. Because what you have to do is you got to pay your money for your tuition by the beginning of the year to start next year, by the end of summer. So that he knew it was time to pay. He kept me around for the whole summer to try and drag me along to try and stay and tell me I needed to stay until next year so he could take my money, take my parents' money, and then kick me out and expel me the next year. So I
That
said,
son
no.
of a.
Yeah, fucking fucked up. So I said, hell no. I told my parents this and how fucked up it is. And so my parents took me out of the school. And
Yeah, and it saved them money
yeah,
too.
yeah, save the money. It saved my record from being expelled. How bad would that look for me? How bad would it look for me to try and go to college with being expelled from a school? And it's a college prep school. So that was the high school. It was a Christian private college prep school. So it would ruin my whole future. It would ruin my whole schooling. Like, so I said no. And I got taken out of the school and I finished my last year in high school. and I mean in a high school in my public school in my district. And that was the most joy I've ever gotten out of my whole years of schooling. My whole life was fucking horrible. Like, it was fucking torturous my whole life. And the little joy that I got out of 12th grade, it was like that was all I had. And then I had to leave for college. I left for college. I went to VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. I was there I hated it there because it was unsafe, and my boyfriend broke up with me shortly after. Like, it was all that. Yeah, because I went to college and shortly he broke up with me after, like, when I left. So it was fucked up, like all this bullshit happening, me almost getting raped, like so many fucking times, more than once. It was more than once actually. Me almost getting abducted, like people running up on me and all this bullshit. People like that just
The
didn't happen.
hell?
Like, it was just not fucking good. And it wasn't until I discovered jujitsu was when my life changed, and I made an effort to change my life and like make myself as strong as possible mentally and physically. And then because I did that, things around me changed. People started fearing me. No one wanted to start fights with me. Like, I'm like,
That
I like
helps.
want to fight me and they fucking won't fight me at this point. I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm going out and like my life changed. And it was all because of my mentality and the way that
Yeah.
I made life after. So I attribute my whole where I am now to everything that I've done and had to go through in the past. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even be at WWE. I wouldn't even be wrestling. I wouldn't even do anything. Like, I would still be the girl with bad social anxiety and being shy with stage fright and low self esteem and hating my life because I really hated my life. I remember thinking, actually, I remember being in college. It was so the first year of college, I had to go to community college because um, my parents couldn't afford it. They needed more time to save, and on top
Right.
of that, uh, my grades weren't that good yet. My GPA was not high enough, so I had to work harder. So
Yeah.
I went to community college during that time, and basically, uh, when I went to VCU for my second year of college, I left. And when I left, I was moving all my stuff out. And when I was moving, I found these books and diaries that I used to keep. So I kept a diary
Really?
from as, yeah, I've kept a diary for my whole life. Because the thing is, I never had anyone to talk to. I didn't have friends. My parents were too busy. They didn't understand me. And I had no outlet for stress. And all I could do was talk to myself and keep a diary. And it was like my way of de stressing and unwinding from my day because literally my whole day, my mind is like anxiety mode. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I have to just write everything down, like to sort it all out and process what happened during the day. So I kept the diary religiously, like from 4 years old, even though I didn't really know English. It was weird. So, like I said, I didn't really know English growing up. But for some reason, I had really good writing skills and spelling skills.
Right.
I was good at writing and spelling, but I couldn't really understand. I mean, I could understand, but I couldn't speak it. I couldn't speak English. So I couldn't speak and I couldn't read, which is weird because usually reading and writing goes together and speaking and
Right.
understanding goes together. But I couldn't read and I couldn't speak, but I could understand and I could spell and write very well. So I remember, so also, like to this day, I hate reading. I hate reading storybooks, but I'll research on the computer all day. But reading a book like a physical book, I absolutely hate it. And I think it's just because I feel traumatized from being 8 years old and being held in recess because I couldn't read. I remember there's that game Popcorn where you read a page and they say popcorn and then someone else reads the
Yeah.
page. Yeah. I remember every time it got to me, I couldn't read. Like I would stutter. I had a stutter and I just couldn't get the words out. And I probably did have a stuttering problem. I don't know. Maybe I just thought it was a reading problem, but I don't really know what it was. But I remember not being able to read and I would stutter over my words. And then I would get held in for recess because of it. I'd be punished for it. I would get held in because I had bad reading skills, which now that I think back to it, I don't know why I'm being punished for not being able to read. Like, but I was made fun
Different
of. I
time.
was seen as, yeah,
I'd say
different
different
times, I guess.
time.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I was punished for not being to read, and then I would be made fun of by the kids, thinking I'm stupid, that I can't read. And so, something about reading, I just fucking hate it to this day. And I just can't stand reading an actual physical book. But if it was online version, sure, I'll read it. Yeah, but
This
it's
is
weird.
book suck.
And
Rosita
I,
says book suck.
yeah, they do. I fucking hate them. But I don't like reading like story books because those were the books I grew up with where I felt traumatized by that. I'll read a textbook all day. I'll read an encyclopedia all day because I feel like if I'm going to waste my time reading, then I better get the most maximum information out of my putting in the work. I'm not going to waste my time reading all these like detailed bullshit. Just get to the point, get straight to the point, and give me all the information I need. That's why I like research instead. And instead of reading a long ass storybook about, oh, the freaking red bricks of the building, blah blah blah. I mean, just tell me it's a fucking house. It's a brick house. Okay, cool. The guy went to a fucking house. Don't tell me that he saw the red brick of the wall and like I just wasted like fucking 3 pages when you could have just told me in one sentence. Like,
Just tell me. Just tell me. Which, by the
fucking tell
way,
me, fucking tell me. I
we,
don't want
we
to hear all this bullshit.
yeah, damn right. Speaking of telling, because we got to do a part two, because the battery's about to die. But where can people find you on social media?
On Instagram, Zeda Zhang, ZEDA underscore ZHANG, and I will have all my other links. I have my Patreon, my TikTok, my whatever, everything's on there. And my Twitter, yeah. You would just have to go in the bio and it's all there. Yeah, I could go on
Absolutely.
forever. There's so many things. My bad. We just talk forever, but there's so many things.